And if you haven't, take a look at it. It looks really good. And I'm going to move over there and do these proclamations.
Thank you.
So our first proclamation is for Corporal Joseph Matrosevich. You know, Joe's last day was yesterday, right? Yep, it was yesterday. You don't have to stand out with it. I'll give you a little cover over here. Okay, so whereas Corporal Joseph Matrosevich prepared for his career in law enforcement by attending the police academy at Lakeland Community College and graduating in 1993. In 1994, Joe began working as a part-time patrolman for the village of Kirtland Hills. Joe continued his career, transitioning to a full-time corrections officer for the Lake County Sheriff's Department from 1995 to 1998. And dedicated to his work and career, Joe worked as a part-time patrolman for the city of Wickliffe from 1997 to 2000. Joe joined the Mayfield Heights Police Department on July 28, 1998 as part-time patrolman and was hired full-time on May 5, 2000. During his career at Mayfield Heights, Joe had the honor and privilege to work with 4 police chiefs. And Joe held many positions within the Mayfield Heights Police Department during his tenure over the 23 years. He was a canine handler for 13 years, handling Rico and Jewel. His peers respected him and elected Joe to serve as the Patrolmen's Union representative in 2012. He served until he retired from the Mayfield Heights Police Department. And always committed and devoted to his career, Joe was a member of the Mayfield Heights Honor Guard unit from 2000 to this day. His passion and dedication to law enforcement progressed as he embarked on his new occupation as a court security officer for the United States Marshal's Office in Cleveland. During his retirement, Joe plans to spend time with his wife, Stephanie, their children, and friends at his lake house. The city of Mayfield Heights wishes to extend our appreciation to Corporal Matrosevich for his significant contributions to the police department and the community, and wishes him a well-earned respite and quality time to spend with his family. Now therefore, I, Anthony DeSico, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Mayfield Heights, state of Ohio, and on behalf of the entire city council, the administration, and all present, do at this moment officially congratulate Corporal Matrosevich upon his retirement, extend best wishes for continued success, good health, and much happiness in the years to come, and assure him that the city of Mayfield Heights will remain forever enriched by his devoted service. Thanks, John. And Doctor, if you'd like to come up. One of our newest, well, not newest businesses, but one of our newest businesses in a new building, Apex Dermatology, has alerted us that this is Skin Cancer Awareness Month. So we took the time to make a proclamation, and I want to acknowledge Apex and give the proclamation to you. Okay. So whereas Skin Cancer Awareness Month, September 25th, 2023, skin cancer is the most common of all cancers in the United States and worldwide, and 1 in 5 Americans being diagnosed in their lifetime. And precautionary measures, including skin exams, are the best defense against skin cancer. When diagnosed and treated early, 99% of melanomas have a 5-year survival rate. And the city of Mayfield Heights, along with Apex Dermatology, is recognizing the month of September as Skin Care Awareness Month. We take this as an opportunity to raise awareness and focus on the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. The need for sun safety never takes a season off. And be sure to take proper precautions when enjoying time in the sun, including protective clothing, sunglasses, daily sunscreen, avoiding indoor tanning, and whereas the city of Mayfield Heights, along with Apex Dermatology, encourages everyone to practice sun safety and prioritize annual skin exams with a dermatology professional. And now, therefore, I, Anthony DeSico, under the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Mayfield Heights, state of Ohio, and on behalf of the entire city council, the administration, and all present, do at this moment officially proclaim the month of September as Skin Cancer Awareness Month.
Thank you, Mayor DeSico, City Council members, good evening. Thank you to everybody here today. I just want to say a few words. We're very excited about the proclamation and of our new building in Mayfield Heights at the corner of Cedar and Landerbrook. We always talk about prevention and you know, how to take care of your skin. So now we're real close to you. We have same-day appointments, and we have a great team out there to take care of all the citizens of Mayfield Heights and our communities. Thank you for the opportunity, for being part of this special day, and also for the great support that we've had in the community in our opening of the new building. We're very excited to be in our new space, and if you haven't seen it, come check it out because it's terrific, and we're already kind of operating there, and it's awesome. So thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the mayor? Congratulations to Joe, and also congratulations on the new Apex building in our city. We'll now move to Director of Finance, Mrs. Fagan.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report this evening.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And Director of Law, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no formal report tonight, but there are a couple of items on the agenda that I would like to make a note about. First of all, Resolution 2023-90. The question before council will be whether or not the applicant has shown a practical difficulty. That's the one where they're requesting a 4,900 square foot accessory building. So practical difficulty is the only issue. Flooding is not an issue. Fencing, anything else is not an issue, and shouldn't be accepted tonight as testimony. Secondly, 2023-17, I'd like to request that be placed on second reading. That's the purchase of the foreclosed property along 271. Thirdly, Resolution 2023-94 regarding abating the nuisance on Kingswood should be added to the agenda and considered by council. Number 4, Resolution 2023-95 regarding a change order for the road program should also be added to the agenda and considered by council. Number 5 and 6, the ordinances 2023-19 and 2023-20 regarding naming rights and committees. I just finished a rewrite pursuant to how Councilmember DeJohn had requested they be changed. So I would suggest that they be referred to Legislative Committee for discussion because I had some questions, but that'll be up to council and the president of council. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Murphy? We will now move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, beginning with the Building Committee, Mr. Monaco.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report this evening. However, next Thursday at 5 p.m. we have a Building Committee meeting in these chambers. The purpose of the meeting will be to discuss the pay ordinance for part-time and on-call inspectors, political signs, and roof gutters and downspouts. As far as the part-time inspectors, It seems to be increasingly hard to find and hire inspectors who are certification. And I think we need to revisit our pay scale to be more in line with other communities. As far as the political signs, section 119102D3 states, outlines the time frame for displaying of signs in residential and commercial areas. We have noticed that there is some political signs that have been up for a while now. I don't think this is fair to the other candidates who are abiding by our ordinance and by the law. So in my opinion, either we need to revisit this and possibly change the time frame for displaying of signs. And again, if it cannot be enforced, then there's no sense having it in our books. And then the third one would be regarding, again, like I said, roof gutters and downspouts. Seems like there's a lot of people there just making partial repairs to roofs, and therefore the colors cannot match, so you have different tone roofs. And I think if we have something in the ordinance that would be a little more enforceable, I think we could have more uniform roofs all over the city. So that's it.
Great, thank you. So that's next Monday.
That's
It's 5
next
p.m.
Thursday.
Next Thursday, I'm sorry.
At 5 p.m.
Thursday.
Madam President, if I may.
I mean, I'm sorry.
sorry.
This coming Thursday. Yes.
The 28th.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not. We haven't been notified yet, but we agreed on the time, so you would get a notification.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Fagan, did you?
I was just going to clarify that, whether it was next Thursday or this Thursday.
Okay, perfect. So it's this Thursday, the 28th at 5 p.m. We will get a notice. Okay, thank you. Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. DeJong.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report other than to say, yes, we should probably have a legislative committee meeting as soon as possible. Maybe we should ask right now if anyone's going to be on vacation. So maybe if Mrs. Lloyd can schedule that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislative Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, you can schedule legislative committee anytime. I'm not going on vacation.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
No report.
All right, Public Works and Service, Mr. Balestria.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. The Public Works Service Committee did not meet, so I don't have an official report other than a short update. The work is almost done on the Monterey area, Cordova. We're waiting for the final coat of asphalt, top coat to be placed. The crew has moved over into the Long Ridge area to complete some of that work over there that was specified that needed to be redone. And I will be calling a Public Works meeting shortly, hopefully within the next week or so.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Balestria? Recreation and Parks, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam President, I'm sorry. LBJ and WLBJ registration is open to all. More information can be found on the website or call 440-442-2627. There will be information coming out about the Halloween party towards the end of the week. Park and Recs has a meeting tomorrow evening at the the Aquatic Center at 7 p.m. and the senior subcommittee meeting is tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. At the Aquatic Center. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mano? Safety and Transportation, Mrs. Tressi.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Zoning Appeals met on September September 12th. The council has the meeting minutes along with previous council minutes concerning items on the agenda this evening. I encourage all applicants to address council during the public portion of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And Planning Commission, Mr. Balstrand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is a meeting planned for next Monday, October the 2nd. We do have an agenda with reconstruction of the CVS area on Mayfield Road. There was no meeting planned for last week, so I have no report. So that meeting is also open to the public.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we will now proceed to the public portion of this meeting. Pursuant to City Code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for the entire public portion. If you are here in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to address council. However, please note that this is not an opportunity for debate or slighted comments. You can just bring it forward. Or, yes, thank you. If you would like to be, no, I understand. I'll let you know when to come up. If you would like to be heard this evening, please fill out a form located at the public entrance. I will call each person wishing to speak up to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record and speak clearly into the microphone. It is now 7:26 and I will open up the public portion. Nicole Davis. Please state your name and address and turn your mic on.
My name is
Perfect,
Nicole Davis, and my address is 190 North Union Street, Suite 100 in Akron, Ohio. I am here to speak for the project 2023 87, 88, and 89 on the agenda. And this is the Trouvé Med Spa located at 30055 Cedar Road. We just wanted to come and thank the Board of Zoning for working with us at our previous meeting and all the variance requests that we had. The clients are very excited that we received approval from them, and we're very encouraged that they will be able to continue running their business in Mayfield Heights, and that we have the support for this small local woman-owned business to continue functioning in the city.
Thank you. Now, Mr. George Zagar.
Thank you very much. My name is George Zagar. I live at 6581 Kingswood Drive. Very proud neighbor. We live on a beautiful street. This has to do with the resolution 2023-94 for the property directly next door to me. Okay. Once again, I'd like to thank you for listening to me. I live on Kingswood. This is a beautiful and affordable street. We have many wonderful neighbors. I'm kind of sad in a way that I have to come forward with this, but recently I noticed water on my property that I thought was leaching to my house. And I had to send an email to the city in order to ask for help. Okay. It turned out that the property, what I was told next to me, was the basement was flooded with 6 feet of sewage water. My neighbor, he's a wonderful man. He's always been very good to me, but he doesn't know how to live life properly and cleanly. He owes that to the rest of our community on our street. to live properly and the right way. The neighbor on the other side of the property, she witnesses a lot more than I do, okay, in terms of debris on his property, not keeping his property cut correctly, I mean the grass, that is, and other issues. But it came to a head that something that he needed to bring forward. My opinion is that the house is destroyed. I don't believe that there's any way for the house to be rehabilitated. It must be raised. Once again, I come with a sad heart because I'm looking at all people involved, all of my neighbors. So with that, I just like to say, we live in a beautiful section of Mayfield Heights, right between Gates Mills and the other areas. Pepper Pike, I'm sorry. But the city is keeping up our property so well, especially along Gates Mills Boulevard. The grass is cut, the trees are cut. It's just amazing, and with all the work that's being done on the sidewalks and so forth. So I applaud the city for that, and I hope you keep it up. I hope I'm a good neighbor for everybody. So that's all I have to say, okay?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Denver Barrett.
Hello, I'm Denver Berry, 1592 Lander Road. I'm asking the council to reverse the BZA when they denied my request for a auxiliary building. And the reason for that is my property is unique. It's larger than 2 football fields, and it's always been used as a nursery. Even before I bought it, the person who owned it before had an apple orchard. And there's equipment there, there's materials, and it's everything on the property has to do with non-commercial, but what's used on the property, and it's sitting out and in the elements. And it would be nice to be able to put it inside of a building, not only to protect the equipment, but also to keep it out of sight and make it more attractive for any of the neighbors that might be looking onto the property. Some properties ask for a variance because they're too small. They might need a setback variance, or they might need something to accommodate a property that's just not large enough. My property is plenty large to have the building that I'm asking for. It would amount to only 5% of the property, and it would solve a lot of problems, and it would be, I think it would be an advantage for everybody. And it's not going to cause any harm, no hardship to anyone. The only person having a hardship right now is me, because I have a large property that basically I can't use. And it doesn't seem fair to me to have a large property and a lot of materials, equipment, and not be able to put it inside because I won't get the variance, or I didn't get the variance from BZA to put up an adequate building. And the building I'm asking for isn't overly large. It doesn't make any sense to ask for a building that's too small to house everything. This would be the right size, and I'm asking the City Council to reverse the decision of BZA and grant me the variance I need to put up the building.
Thank you. This will come up before our regular meeting. Mrs. Giovanna Tamario? Tamario. Tomasio.
Yes, good evening. My name is Giovanna Tomasio. Our office building number is 25200 Chagrin Boulevard, Suite 200, Beechwood, Ohio. Good evening. I'm here representing Congresswoman Shontel M. Brown. I just wanted to thank the council for allowing me to be here and all the work you do for our community, and let the public know that our office is available to help with anything you need. I can give you our phone number, our office website later. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. And at this time, is there anybody else who would like to be heard? Thank you. You could just go over to the podium and state your name. Yes, thank you. Mr. Andrew Pado.
My name is Andrew Pado.
Mr. Pado, if you could speak into the microphone or just state your name and address. Okay. Thank you.
My name is Andrew Pado, and I am the owner of the property at 6589 Kingswood Drive, okay? And it is my understanding that at this meeting, the council will consider or will vote on the demolition of the property, as Mr. Zagar already is in favor of. I would like to say a couple things. First of all, I don't agree with Mr. Zagar, although we have been good neighbors, that the house is irreparable, okay? I'd also like to say that there was water in the basement. It was not 6 feet, but it was 54 to 56 inches, okay? And what happened was he called the building department, and the head of the building department came out in response, and the head of the building department told me he saw the water puddle, and he told me to have the water puddle removed in 2 days. And he recommended that I call a septic service to have the basement pumped out. So I then responded to him, and I said that I believe the problem had to do with roots in the sanitary drain, okay? And I said, I will call the county and have them come out and take care of this. He did not want me to do that. He said, you need to call septic service. So I did as I was told, and I did call the septic service, but they didn't respond to me that day, which was last Wednesday. So I decided to call the county, and the county was very accommodating. They came out, I called them at 1:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday. They came out at 4:30. They worked from 4:30 to 6 to try to find the clean-out drain. They had to dig by hand. By 6:30, they could not find the clean-out drain. And so they said, we will come back tomorrow. We have to mark utility lines like gas lines, and then we'll come in here with a backhoe. So they did that the next day. They came out, and with the backhoe, they dug a significant hole, and then they found a clean out, but it turned out they spent several hours. It was the clean out for the storm drain. So they cleaned that out for me, and there was a number of roots in there. And then they said, well, there must be another clean out drain, and they manipulated to find out where it was, and they found it. And so by the end of Thursday, they had all the water pumped out. There was maybe 8 inches of water still in the basement Friday morning when one building inspector came by. And then since that time, by Saturday, it was all drained out, okay? So my concern here is I don't want to lose my property. I don't want my property to be demolished. And I already have some standing citations with the Lyndhurst Municipal Court for Mayfield Heights. and I have a court appearance on October 3rd. And if this body of individuals, and I respect you all, but if this body votes at this time to pass a resolution to demolish the house, then I don't have a hearing in court about this, and it sidesteps then what the court might do. So I'm asking the council not to vote for this demolition, because if they vote against me on that, against the property, then it's going to be a very difficult situation for me. And so there are some issues with some clutter outside the house, and that is one of the things that's being addressed in the court appearance next Tuesday, and I'm working on taking care of that. And I'm also working on the stuff that remains in the basement, okay? And so I'm just putting this forth before the council because it's going to be very disastrous for me if
Mr. Pado,
yeah.
You spoke for 5 minutes. I just have to get a member of council to let you continue. Mr. DeJohn motion, second by Mr. Balestra. Okay, continue.
Okay, so it's going to be a tremendous catastrophe for me to have my property demolished. And I've talked to some of the other neighbors, and they don't agree that that's what should be done. And so I'm not sure how this council is going to vote on this, but I'm asking for a vote not to demolish it and to allow the court, allow me to have a hearing in court over this with this recent thing that happened last Wednesday to be brought before the judge. Because otherwise, if you all vote on a majority vote for a demolition, this is going to start an immediate process, and it's going to be very difficult for me to deal with. And I do care about my neighbors, but not all my neighbors care about me. And there's been some conflicts that have occurred. And I don't really want to get into that at this time because that would take a lot of your time. But I've been a good neighbor to a number of neighbors on Kingswood. Not everybody agrees with that. And so there's opposition to me, and there's people that want me to leave. They want me out. So I guess I don't want to go into all this right now because it's kind of drawn out. But I'm just requesting of the council to allow me to appear at the court appearance on October 3rd before Judge Coletta, and to not vote on the demolition of my property. And if anybody has any questions for me, that I'd be willing to try to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pado. When it comes before us this evening, well, if there's questions, I'll ask at that point.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You could just go to the, you can just go over there right now. Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
My name is Elizabeth Melito. I live at 6597 Kingswood Drive. My neighbor already spoke, that's on the other side. He's been there 6 years. I double that. And as long as I've been there, I've had issues with the neighbor in between. I've witnessed food being buried, no garbage being thrown out, stench where I can't sit outside in the summer because of the burial, wheelbarrows full of water, not dumped. This has been brought up to the mayor, building departments. I've been fighting this for several years, almost since day one. When I first moved in, there was 5 cars in the driveway. There's now 2, both not running, one with no license plates that are legal. It's just ongoing. It was a gift from my parents, this house. And I've done things to make it a beautiful place, to make them proud. And I have a neighbor that has the complete opposite. And it's very, very gut-wrenching to think that my parents, if they would see what's next door to me, would be blown away, because that was not the intent for me and my family with this house. So with that being said, I think if any of you would take a ride down the street and see what this property looks like, you'd have a little taste of what I deal with on a daily basis. And now that I work from home, I see even more what goes on. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Melito. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard this evening? Okay. It is 7:45 and I will close the public portion. We will move to resolution number 2023-85. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-85, a resolution authorizing and approving change management number 074 to the agreement with the Albert M. Higley Company for the construction of the Mayfield Heights Aquatic Center and the Community Center, and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano. Second by Mr. Balestria. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mano and second by Mr. Balestria. This was an original change order through GMP amendment. These pool structures were purchased and this is for the necessary installment of these shades. The cost of this project and installation is $38,498. Are there any questions or comments from council? Mrs. Tressi.
I'm just wondering how we purchased the shades. Did we not think that they'd have to be installed? Is that like buying a hot water tank and leaving it on the doorstep because you didn't plan on installation? I mean, we have level heads and you have a committee every week that should be going through all of these things when you purchase them. How did we miss installation?
Mr. Ward.
So the initial cost through another outfit for the installation and the purchase and installation of all shade nets was $285,000, and we went out and got a quote, state term pricing, and that cost was a little over $100,000, and with the installation, which was not added at the time, we are at $140,000, so almost $140,000 less than what the original offer was. So it was something that had to be done. We thought it was included and it wasn't, but still at no point were we close to the original amount of $285,000.
Mr. Balestria.
Oh, I just had to ask for clarification because I had in my notes it was being referred to Finance Committee, and maybe I heard that wrong, but we're discussing it this evening. Was that?
That was for something else.
It was not for this. Okay, so just so I understand, we went out and rebid.
We got state term pricing.
And we saved over $140,000 with the second company that came in, but they didn't have an installation in their bid, and now we're coming back to
Correct.
install, but it's still less than what the original bid.
So after the installation, which is before you deny, it'll be 140,000 in savings.
Thank you.
Mrs. Tressi.
Who's gonna take the shades down? What will that dismantle cost?
The city will be taking the shades down.
So there'll be no additional cost.
Correct.
Any other questions for Mr. Ward? Thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn,
No.
Mr. Monaco,
No.
Mrs. Teresi,
No.
Mr. Balestria,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has been approved. Resolution number 2023-87, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-87, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in granting to Nicole Davis, NR Design, LLC, on behalf of Cedro Development Group, 30055 Cedar Road, a variance to erect a building that encroaches on the east and west side yard setbacks. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 861-30-009. First reading.
Thank you. Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Tressi and second by Mr. Balestria. This was a 5-0 vote in favor of granting the variance. The BZA saw this to be a practical difficulty. Mrs. Sabetta, would you like to add anything to this from the meeting?
Yes, thank you. This parcel came before the BZA and council for past variances. The requests were similar to this application and were granted. Council should have the minutes for review on the past variances. Council heard from the applicant. The board found that the land was too small to comply with the zoning code, being U8. Unanimous recommendation, a practical difficulty in the use of the land. All members were present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from council? Mr. Balestria.
We were copied, and whoever put that in our packet, thank you, on the March 22nd, 2021 minutes. And it seems like all of the same variances as Mrs. Sabetta just stated were already approved. So there's been a delay in the construction and they had to come back to the BZA, is that my understanding?
Company.
No, it's
Or
a
di-
different,
Or a different
company.
But all those variances were similar and approved
Yes.
Mayor?
prior
Do you
to.
want to add?
That was that dental office,
Right.
the original. I remember it was gonna be a dental office.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Tressi.
The building is owned by Payne and Payne, or it was owned by Payne and Payne, is that correct? Is it still owned by the same company, the property? Is the property owned by the same company? The property sold? Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Thomas, could you come up?
Yeah. Thank you. Because the variances were, I think, for the prior company.
So the property is sold. The project that was submitted to the building department, subsequently the BZA, is because the original variances that were granted, all the approvals that were given by the city, were only valid for a year if no construction had started. The parcel was never developed. Everything expired. We had to start all over again. But it is a similar project, just a different company. It's not a Dennis Dumples level.
And does MedSpa own the building?
The applicant, I think, left.
I'm not sure if it's going to be a land lease or who's going to own the building. But currently I believe they're in Beechwood now, and they're going to move here.
Right.
So. Okay. Go women-owned business.
Thank
Ray.
you. Thank you. All right, anything further? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestra.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has been approved. Moving to resolution number 2023-88, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-88, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in granting the Nicole Davis NR Design LLC on behalf of Cedro Development Group, 30055 Cedar Road, a variance to erect a building that encroaches on the east and west parking lot setbacks. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 861-30-009. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestra.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestra and second by Mr. Monaco. This was a 5-0 vote in favor of this variance. We heard from Mr. Thomas this evening, and Mrs. Sabetta, is there anything else you'd like to add?
BZA took this also as a unanimous practical difficulty setbacks due to the size of the property.
Thank you. All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestra.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has now been adopted. Resolution number 2023-89, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-89, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in granting to Nicole Davis NR Design LLC on behalf of Cedro Development Group, 30055 Cedar Road, a variance to install a landscape buffer on the east side property line in lieu of a masonry wall. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 861-30-009. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestra.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Monaco
Second.
and second by Mr. Balestra. This was a 5-0 vote in favor of granting the landscape buffer on the east side of the property. Mrs. Sabetta, refer to you.
Yes, this is on the east side of the property. On the west side of the property, which is the side that is against the development, there will be erected, as code requires, a masonry wall.
Any questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balestra.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this motion has been approved. Moving to resolution number 2023-90, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-90, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in denying to Denver Barry on behalf of April Management Limited, 1592 Cedar Road, or Lander Road, a variance to construct a new accessory structure on the property. Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 861-27-001, 4,750 square feet larger in area than that allowed by the codified ordinances. First reading. Okay, 011.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano and second by Mr. Balestra. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Monaco,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano and second by Mr. Belstrade. This variance was denied by the BZA 5-0. I'm going to refer this to Mrs. Sabetta to go over the reasons for the vote and why the BZA didn't see this to be a practical difficulty.
As council will recall, we have recently amended this code. The applicant failed to show practical difficulties for size and height of the accessory building or to justify the need for all the materials. It was a unanimous denial and all members were present.
Okay. Does any member of council have any questions? Mrs. Tracy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to put this on first reading so that we can get a final plan of what the applicant is really looking to put on the property.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. We'll put this on first reading. Thank you. Moving to 2023-90. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-91, a resolution confirming the action of the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Mayfield Heights in denying to Denver Barry on behalf of April Management Limited, 1592 Lander Road, a variance to construct an accessory structure on the property, Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 861-27-011, 5 feet higher than that allowed by the codified ordinances. First reading.
Just place this on first reading. Okay.
Do you need to vote on that so that?
First reading.
No.
No. Okay.
No vote.
Just
It's
so,
been read, yeah.
right, okay, just double checking.
All right, moving to resolution number 2023-92. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-92, a resolution ratifying and approving change management number 66 and number 67 to the agreement with the Albert M. Higley Company for the construction of the Mayfield Heights Aquatic Center and the Community Center and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mr. Belstrade. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mrs. Sabetta. This resolution is a change order request for the Aquatic Center to provide lighting and power to the storage building, as well as add insulation to the snow melt system. The additional costs for this total $40,192. Mr. Ward, would you like to give a description of what we're doing here? I know there are two items that total this amount.
So there's two items on here. The storage building is the first item, and I can just read from the packet that you got. Lighting and power for the pre-engineered storage building was assumed to be part of the vendor's package by the AE. As these items are not part of their scope of work, the CM adds that these items will add these items to their project. So it was just not part of the scope. It was an oversight. And then for the snow melt system, both the manufacturer and the contractor recommended a value-added insulation board that will extend the life of the product and improve the efficiency. So not something that's necessary, but something that they thought would make it more efficient and extend the life of the product.
So I just have a quick question, and I'll open up the floor. From what we have to do now, like to finish this building off, Do they foresee anything else coming down the path that they have not projected?
Just one point on this. This is all contingency monies. This is not add-ons to the products. This is all part of the owner's contingency. After this point, we still have $118,000 in owner contingency left. So, and you know, there's still some that are coming down. So, some change orders that will be coming down.
Mrs. Tressi?
I just have to ask again, like, this is the Quonset hut, the little metal for storage, and there was no lighting. I mean, did you ever think that did Higley or Levelhead, our architect, ever think that you might have to see in there? I mean, just like force, like, gosh gee whiz, it might get dark when we have to go get a chair. How will we see? Or
I'm going to read the sentence again. The lighting and the power for the pre-engineered storage building was assumed to be part of the vendor's package by the AE. As these items are not part of the scope of their work, the CM adds those to the items. So he thought it was part of the package, and it wasn't. And that's why you have a contingency. Things, you don't hit 1,000%. Right? There's things that, you know, you have to, you roll with.
Are there any other questions? Mrs. Tressi?
I do have a question, but it actually doesn't pertain to this resolution. Can I ask it anyway about the aquatic center? And my question is only because residents have asked me if there's going to be a fence around the playground.
Yes, there will be a fence.
Thank you.
And I called and asked the same.
I know. I've had residents call me and ask the same question. Thank you.
Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
No.
Mr. Monaco?
Nope.
Mr. DeJohn?
No.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. This has now been approved. Resolution number 2023-93.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-93, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for 2 years for and on behalf of the city of Mayfield Heights with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Monaco and second by Mrs. Tressi. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria and second by Mrs. Tressi. All of council should have received a memo from the Board of Health. This is a 2-year contract. The Ohio Revised Code stipulates that each city in our state must provide health services through the city district or by valid contract or union with the county health district. The director certifies that this provision of health services is being done annually in all the cities. Does any member of council have any questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Resolution number 2023-93 has been adopted. This time I would like to add resolution 2023-94 to the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Balestria. Second by Mr. Monaco. Roll call on the motion.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Resolution number 2023-94, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-94, a resolution declaring the real property known as Cuyahoga County Permanent Parcel Number 863-31-027, and also known as 6589 Kingswood Drive, Mayfield Heights, Ohio, to be a nuisance, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for the work necessary to abate the nuisance and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano and second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Ballestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Teresi and second by Mr. Ballestrea. The council places this evening as a copy of the memo along with the resolution submitted by Mr. Murphy on Friday afternoon. The memo explained the reasoning behind the request to add this to the resolution and to tonight's agenda. This would allow the administration to take the steps necessary to abate the property deemed as a nuisance. Mr. Murphy, would you like to add anything to this?
As a point of clarification, the resolution authorizes the mayor to take whatever steps are necessary to abate the nuisance. That would, at the worst case, be demolishing the residence. But if the building department and the service department came up with a lesser means to abate the nuisance, then the mayor could, in his discretion, determine to follow that. The demolishing of the residence is the final thing, but conceivably, as Mr. Pato said, maybe there is something that he could do to abate the nuisance in which the residents wouldn't necessarily be destroyed. So, but this authorizes the mayor to take all steps up to $35,000 to abate the nuisance, which would include demolition if necessary.
Are there any questions or comments from council? Mr. Ballestrea.
You know, I hate to really see this happen to anybody, personally. But there's a long history here. There's a lot of violations that weren't taken care of and such, and I'm not gonna belabor all that, but the question is there a time frame that we can determine or the city can determine to take care of whatever it is that needs to be taken care of and get something that back that would say this house is in order? Otherwise, you're just, you know, beating a dead horse here. You're going to repeat the whole process again. So unless everything is taken care of that's determined to be a nuisance, then I don't see belaboring the issue. But I just want to know if there's some kind of a time frame.
No, there is no time frame, but I've been in contact with Mr. Thomas, and we're ready to go with this. It'll be done with all dispatch. You've heard of from the neighbors on both sides who are
absolutely
sick and tired of the situation, this will be done promptly.
Thank you.
Mrs. Tressi.
I just have a quick question. They spoke about the cars being in the driveway with no license plates. Was the property owner notified that those cars had to be removed? And did it never happen over the past year?
I know I drove by today and there's signs on the front door, there's a sign in the yard. And Mr. Mayor.
Madam Chair, yeah, thank you. There is a list, if you go in there, that shows all the violations he's been cited for. And
but he's never taken care of.
Some have been dealt with, but some have not.
Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, he's been cited. He's never, to my knowledge, completely complied with the terms of the citation. He is in court right now, I believe, and I'm not the prosecutor, so I can't give you the exact determination, but I believe he has pled guilty to some of the violations and is on probation with the Lyndhurst Municipal Court. But I do have a conversation coming up with Judge Coletta, and we'll find that out. So he's been cited a number of times by the building department over the past couple of years.
I did see that. I just wondered if he complied with any of the citations he received.
To a lesser extent, he complied, but not totally. So he's been in and out of court over the past several years, as you can see, and it's My understanding, I heard from Mr. Thomas, that he is on probation with regard to some of the citations.
Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, do you know if the resident is living in the home?
To my knowledge, he is living in the home. Yes. Oh, one other thing I should add, when Mr. Pato said he pumped it out, he was pumping the sewage out of the basement, but he was running it down the driveway into a storm sewer in the street, which is illegal by federal, state, and local laws. So that's what brought the county out with regard to that. And then they took care of the rest of it once the city ensured that electricity was turned off so that they could pump the water out of the basement.
Mr. Monaco, did you have something? Mr. Thomas, did you want to come up and add anything to this? I'm sorry, but you've been there, so it's easier for us to hear from you.
All I can say is that, assuming this resolution were to pass tonight, it would give me the tools that I don't currently have. So this would certainly help. If you have any questions, I'll answer specific questions, but I want to broadly discuss the issue.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Mr. Mano.
I've been to the property. I've been up to the property, and in my opinion, it's beyond redemption. It really needs to come down.
Anything further from any council? Mr. Belstrade.
Mr. Thomas, is there anything once the basement is cleaned that would certify that it's, we've got a memo here that's determining it to be a biohazard as well. Is there who certifies that? And
if there was an attempt to clean the basement, it would have to be by a professional company that would provide some type of certificate after it was completed that whatever issues exist in there were abated. At this point, you're talking about a large amount of material that has been sitting in sewage for weeks.
Mr. Monaco.
Mr. Thomas, have you gone into the house yourself and have you inspected the interior of the property?
I did. I got a warrant last year. And
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming up. All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This motion has been adopted. Next item A, I have a motion to add 2023-95 to tonight's agenda. Moved by Mr. Balestria, second by Mrs. Teresi. Roll call on the motion.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution number 2023-95, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2023-95, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 with Trimore Corporation for the 2023 road reconstruction program and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Teresi, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mrs. Teresi and second by Mr. Balestria. Every member of council should have received an email over the weekend from Mr. Chuney explaining the condition of Crestwood Road. It is critical that we pass this tonight so that we can get that road work underway and get the road back to safe conditions for the residents. The additional amount is not to exceed $149,994. Does any member of council have any questions? Mr. DeJong.
Thank you, Madam President. Maybe this is for Mr. Pernello. If we would have known this before we started tearing up the road, would this street qualify for a total replacement because the base is in such bad condition?
Mr. Purnell.
Or Mr. Chimney?
Yeah, I'll defer this to Dick. I mean, the road is in pretty bad condition regardless of the base bell at Maple Creek.
Correct, and that is the current scope of the project, is to replace the road full depth. The job was set up with a contingency item to address soft subsoils. Once the pavement was removed, we roll it and see how suitable it is for the new pavement. And if it's soft, we dig it up and put additional stone. The extent of the soft subgrade, what we're seeing, if we use the items that we had set up in the contingency, it would be a lot more expensive to overcut the entire roadway footprint. So at that point, we requested the contractor to give us a quote to stabilize it and non-perform the spot repairs that we had set up as a contingency in order to get it replaced cheaper than what we're seeing. What we're seeing right now, the entire subgrade has to come out before we can even stone the road. So we asked for a price for, the quote here is for cement stabilization, and it would address the entire footprint of the road. But to your question, the road is being rebuilt full depth. This is not a resurfacing job.
Thank you.
Mr. Belstra.
When you do the cement stabilize, you know, what would be the longevity of that road then in you know, compared to completely going down to the base?
We're beyond the base with the cement stabilization. The pavement's designed for 20 plus years service life. If you didn't address the soft subgrade, then you're going to compromise the intended lifespan of the concrete pavement for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I believe Commonwealth is
very similar under Commonwealth's conditions as well when they did the road.
And this is, we've only taken out half, right? Half of it?
They're close to halfway through, correct?
Yeah. So the other half, we're just adding that portion into this amount in case.
The request tonight would cover the entire footprint of the job. As we move forward and tear out pavement that hasn't been removed yet, and if for some reason the soils were in a better condition, we certainly would not use this process if we could save that money. Correct.
Mr. Belstra.
Just so council knows, part of the road program originally was to do Crestwood and Roselawn over there. So my concern is we're going to find something similar on the very next street. So when that road program comes up for 24, I would just maybe put a bug into Mrs. Fagan's ear that, you know, or maybe when we come through with the estimates for that road, we add this to the cost of the, without estimating. Before we even tear it up, just anticipate that this is going to be done on Roselawn. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJong.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Stressy.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has now been approved. We'll go to ordinances, beginning with ordinance number 2023-17. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2023-17, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with the Cuyahoga County Land Realization Corporation to purchase tax delinquent land in the city and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
We heard from Mr. Murphy this evening. He would like to place this on second reading. Ordinance, Mr. Monaco.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Why are we even considering buying this property? Why don't we contact Woodall and they should buy it really because it's right next to their property.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
it's an opportunity to use that piece of property to maybe enhance the corporate park with maybe a sign or some type of corporate recognition or corporate use.
Because it's exposure to the freeway?
Correct.
That there would be maintenance and everything else involved in it? Okay.
Not on the city, it would be, if the idea is maybe a company may want it for signage. And then that would be their responsibility to take care of the signage, like like Parker's is now.
But if you do that, wouldn't you have to have some kind of easement so you'd be able to get to it? Because it's just in Woodhawk, a private street, that's a gated community, so to get to it, you would have to have their permission, so they can deny that, so you can't do anything with that property.
You wouldn't.
We would need access to the property, yes, not necessarily through Woodhawk, through one of the corporate properties.
So again, without having that in place, why are we even consider buying this?
Because we need to get the property now, and then we can worry about the
You worry about getting later. I would assume that you worry about how to get there before you buy the property, but I might be wrong.
Well, we may miss the boat then if we don't move now on the property.
Thank you.
Mrs. Tressi.
So does it back up to Parkland? That's where or Woodhawk? I kind of looked on the.
It backs up partially to Woodhawk's property, and it also backs up to two other corporate properties. It does not have any access right now to a public right-of-way, although that's one of the reasons that I requested it be placed on second reading, because we're looking into the access possibilities, because there's a pole on the property, so somebody has access, but I need a title report to determine that.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2023-18, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance 2023-18, an ordinance enacting Chapter 961 of the Codified Ordinances of the City titled Indigent Decedent Policy. Second reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta. Second by Mr. Manning. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea. Second by Mrs. Sabetta. The purpose of this ordinance is to provide for the cremation of indigents or the creation or cremation of indigent claimed by an indigent person. The indigent person decedent policy is enacted to comply with the provisions of the Ohio Revised Code to the cremation of indigent residents of the city and who are not claimed by any person. This is an application policy for this ordinance, and our administration would be the one appointed to be responsible to enact the indigent decedent policy. Are there any questions or comments from council? Mr. DeJohn.
Yes, we had originally contracted with All Ohio Cremation Services, now who has sold out to another company. I did contact them, and they no longer want to provide cremation services to us. They referred me to somebody else. But what I'm getting at here is, I understand state law requires us to cremate these people, but it doesn't require us to provide burial services for them, just cremate them. But I understand the mayor wants to place them in a burial location, but if we do decide to do that, I would like to see it go out for bid. So other than just selecting Knollwood Cemetery, there are other cemeteries that provide that type of service, and it could be a lot less than what Knollwood would charge us. I would like to research this a little bit longer and put it on keep it on second reading.
Mayor.
Well, this doesn't have anything really to do with the cemetery. It's just bringing us up to speed with the state code. But Knollwood is doing it for practically nothing. It's a spot that they can't use. So just so you keep that in mind.
Is it in ground burial?
No, no. It's in the mausoleum to facilitating, the ability of a family in the future, if they wanted to claim those ashes, would be up to the cemetery and their family to deal with the costs. City would be out of the cost of disinterment, more or less. So that would be the agreement, but that we would make an agreement and you would see it and we would agree on the terms with the cemetery once, we negotiated with them.
Mr. DeJohn.
So I guess this is to Mr. Murphy, because it's been told to me that Mr. Murphy says that we need this ordinance. If we didn't have this ordinance, we still would have to comply with the state law of providing these services. So I don't really understand why we need this ordinance. It's just like...
I didn't really, request the ordinance, the mayor did.
I thought you did, they said...
Well, we had this several years ago when this first came up, when the law was changed. But basically, the city is required to dispose of the remains of indigents who were residents of the city. And that has been done up to now through All Ohio Cremation. We would, call them and they would come out and, recover the body and then take care of the cremation and then put it in the urn. And the urn is required to have, I think, the name, the date of birth and date of birth. There's certain information that has to be on the urn. And that's under state law. But the question is what then we do with the urn. And this legislation would allow the mayor, once the cremation is done, to take steps to dispose of the urn. And right now, Knollwood has said, yes, we'll take it at no cost to the city.
No cost?
Well, defer to the mayor. Very little cost. Okay.
And will we have, will these cremation services be shopped since All Ohio is no longer in business and the new company doesn't want to service us?
That's up to the mayor. The mayor has the administrative discretion to utilize whatever cremation services are necessary.
Yeah, I would definitely go look. I would try to find the lowest, obviously, but I think it might be difficult at this time to get as low as All was, just because of the nature. You know how it's going as far as cremation goes. So, yeah, I'd be more than happy to go looking. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I did look, and the lowest I found so far is 1175. So that's where we
What was All? 8?
What was
8 something? Yeah. So it's just... All right, thank you.
Can you share that? I'm sorry. Who you found?
I have it written down at home.
Yeah, just email it to me.
Mrs. Dressen.
I was just gonna ask the mayor, how many family members since we've done this, how many family members have really come to retrieve?
None.
Mr. Ryan.
I believe the law director already answered this, but is this limited to the residents of Mayfield Heights? And what happens if somebody dies in a car accident and is in the city of Mayfield Heights and he's from somewhere else? He's indigent? Then what happens in that?
It depends on where that individual was a resident. If there is a car accident in the city of Mayfield Heights involving a Lyndhurst resident who was killed in the accident, it would be up to, and he was indigent, then it would be up to the city of Lyndhurst to take care of this disposal. Mayfield Heights has more business than, more opportunity than other cities, because we've got the hospital here, and we've got a number of nursing homes where the nursing homes, that's their residency is established by the city.
So
If they're indigent, then the city gets stuck with it. And we had a flurry of them 6 years ago, and I don't think we've had one. I always said we'll have 10 tomorrow, but.
So that brings me to my next question. So if this body needs to be transported to the city of its residence, then who's going to pay for the transportation? Is it Mayfield Heights? They're not going to pick it up.
It depends on where the body is located. I've had calls from Hillcrest saying, hey, we've got a body here, they're indigent, and I've asked them, provide your records to show why they're indigent, because that's the other thing that the city has to look at, is make sure that the individual is indigent and that their next of kin will not claim the body, because if their son or daughter will claim the body, then that's fine. You've got to look at all of these things, but once it's determined that the person has passed away and they were indigent and they were a resident of the city of Mayfield Heights, then it's up to the city of Mayfield Heights.
But to answer your question, if it was a Lyndhurst resident, determined it was a Lyndhurst resident, that would be up to them and whoever they contract with to do their indigent to retrieval, or whoever they're doing business with. It should be part of their contract.
But I guess the question is, if somebody comes from New York and he dies on the freeway, he gets in an accident on the freeway and he goes to Hillcrest and he dies at Hillcrest. It's not a resident, but who's responsible for
it's up to Hillcrest.
Okay, the city has nothing to do with that. Okay, thank you.
Right, and actually, like Mr. DeJohn just said it, if nobody claimed that individual, it would probably go to the coroner's office, the medical examiner. Right. The medical examiner, the county.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes, Mayor, that was Cleveland Cremation Services.
And Mrs. Tressi.
Does every community have an ordinance similar to this?
Very few do. They go by the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code, and they haven't had as many instances as the city of Mayfield Heights has had. Like I said, because Mayfield Heights has the nursing homes, has the hospitals, so there's more instances where the city of Mayfield Heights is going to be responsible under state law.
Thank you.
And currently the deceased are being held here, or are they already so they're.
I'm sorry. That I'd rather have a contract that everybody can look at and knows the agreement between us and NOLA before we did anything like that.
Okay.
Well, I don't. This isn't a contract with NOLA, so I think. But it's up to council, whatever they want to do. But at least this spells out what our policy.
Good to have a policy on
it. Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi.
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Bob answered for Mrs. Tressi.
I thought he was throwing it. You were throwing it.
I was just like, did somebody say yes when she called my name?
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This ordinance has been approved. Ordinance number 2023-19, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2023-19, an ordinance enacting Chapter 155 of the Codified Ordinances of the City titled Naming Rights to Government Buildings and Property and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
We're just going to place this on second reading. I think this was referred to the Legislative Committee, and we will place this on second reading. Ordinance number 2023-19 Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2023-20, an ordinance amending Chapter 121 of the Codified Ordinances of the City titled Council by amending Section 121.02L regarding committees. Second reading.
And this was also referred to the Legislative Committee, so we will put this on second reading. Ordinance number 2023-21, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2023-21, an ordinance amending Section 12 of Ordinance 2021-32 regarding compensation of certain Recreation and Service Department employees therein and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Monaco, seconded by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain?
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. DeJohn, seconded by Mr. Balestria. This ordinance pertains to salary changes of the Park and Recreation Department, changing the salary of the front desk attendant, facility aide under 16, and facility aide 16 years and over. The rates are seen within the ordinance chart that was provided to you for review. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Abstain?
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes. This motion has been carried, has been adopted.
Sorry, I should have said I was passing this down to Mrs. Tracy. Sorry.
There we go. Pass that back.
I had it prepared.
You did, thank you.
We will now move to motions, beginning with motion A. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to authorize the sale of a fire department vehicle through auction. The vehicle is a 2017 Ford Explorer, VIN number 1FM5K8ARXHGB33357. The mileage is 53,711.
Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Chief Elliott has requested to sell these higher mileage vehicles, or this vehicle has actually an emergency chase car, has been driven hard for 6 years. The vehicle has several mechanical problems, and a request is being made to sell and remove it from our fire department fleet. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, motion A has been approved. Moving to motion B, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Motion to authorize the administration to prepare and distribute requests for proposals for engineering services beginning January 1, 2024 for the city of Mayfield Heights.
Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano and second by Mr. DeJohn. There was some confusion at the last meeting as to whether a formal vote was taken. This motion is to confirm this vote. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
No.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
No.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This motion has been approved. Is there any new business or comments from council? I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mrs. Tressi. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We are now adjourned.